Hello and welcome. I'm Gianni, and today I'm reviewing Super Deluxe. Super Deluxe is the latest psychological suspense thriller directed by Thiagarajan Kumararaja. Here's my synopsis. An unfaithful wife finds herself in a bizarre situation. A son waiting for his father finds himself in a bizarre situation. A group of teenagers find themselves in several bizarre situations. And that's it. If I told you any more than that, I would not be doing you any favors if you have yet to see the film. Okay, before I begin, there's so much to this film that you can talk about that I'm not even going to try to cover all of it. Instead, I'm just going to mention 3 of my favorite things, followed by some opinions after I give my rating. So, number 1. My favorite acting performance was easily Bagavathi Perumal as SI Berlin. Not that there's a twist to who he is, but I just think it's too much of a spoiler to even describe the type of role that he plays. I noticed for the trailer in this movie that Bagavathi only shows up once for a brief duration. I'm certain that if you know nothing going in, you will have a better experience watching his performance. With that said, I also really enjoyed some of the other actors in this film too, namely Ashwant Kumar and Vijay Sethupathi. I thought that they both made significant and unique contributions to the overall tone of the movie, and just like with Bagavathi, I think it's better to not say much more. My second favorite thing in this movie was that the cinematography was fully committed to a strict color scheme. In the same regard, it's quite obvious that a lot of attention was given to costume and set design, which makes every frame fun to look at, and I would say this aspect alone makes this movie worth watching. My third and final praise for this movie is how effective it was at building suspense. You know, if I'm watching a movie for the very first time, it can be pretty hard for me to pay attention to sound, especially if I'm captivated. There's a scene in this movie though, where I did not expect to be suspenseful because I knew exactly what was going to happen. But regardless, I still found myself so caught up in the moment that I literally started asking myself, why the hell am I so nervous right now? And that's when I noticed that both the visuals on screen and the sound coming out of the speakers were conspiring to put me in a state of suspense. I know that's probably not saying all that much, but just keep in mind that this is not a typical suspense thriller. There you go. That's my review. I think saying any more than this would be doing a big disservice to those that have yet to watch the movie. I've seen other reviews give away the central theme for this movie, which I think would be fine in any other movie, but Super Deluxe is such a unique experience that doing so really takes away from the novelty of seeing it. Movies this bold are rarely made, even in Western cinema. That's not to say it's perfect though. For me, it certainly has flaws. One of which I really want to mention after I give my rating, because I think it's the most crucial flaw that this film has. So for sure, not everyone will like this movie, and probably for more reasons than one. But I think anyone who is even relatively intelligent will look at this movie and respect it for what it accomplishes. This style of movie is just so rare that it deserves a fair shot from anyone. So overall, with 5 being average, I'm giving Super Deluxe an 8.7 out of 10. Okay, now I'm going to give some very spoilery thoughts and ideas about this movie, so if you haven't seen it, turn this off and go see it. Alright, so for this section, I mostly just had one criticism that I wanted to express, but before that, I wanted to quickly add how much I appreciated the way this movie used all of its subplots to converge onto the topic of sex and ultimately life. And it managed to do so without it feeling like there was someone behind the screen preaching their morals at me. Even though there was literally somebody at the end of the movie sort of prescribing their view of life to me, that was in a much different tone than the sort of preachy, morally lecturing that I'm referring to. And you know, since the movie refers to sex in such a broad and abstract manner, that it gave it a sort of philosophical science fiction feel, especially with the inclusion of that alien character, whom I wished was utilized in a more serious manner, which leads me to what I feel was an important flaw for this movie. Quick disclaimer though, I have yet to watch Aranya Kandam, so do let me know if my criticisms can be attributed to not having seen it. Okay, if I had just one criticism for this movie, it would be what seemed to me like poor plot execution for the teenagers. And just keep in mind, I've only seen the movie once a few days ago, so it could be very likely that my memory of it is all messed up. But the scenes involving the teenagers and the crime boss was ultimately for the television getting tossed over, right? And they didn't seem to have anything to do with the guy that died in the beginning of the movie either. So my main issue is that after that kid runs off to go kill his mom, the sense of risk and danger was never made palpable for the other teenagers in a way that could match the other narratives in this movie. Because the other three narratives that were occurring simultaneously all seemed to carry real weight and consequence. For example, Vijay's character was virtually raped, right? And then on top of that, we were led to believe that he lost his child. And then you have the couple, whom not only had to dispose of a dead body, but also had to struggle with the very real threat of Samantha's character getting raped. And then of course there's that one kid who went to go stab his mom and then put himself into a critical condition. So you can easily say that life was getting very real for all of them. But on the other hand, the teenagers had to replace a couple of televisions and then met a friendly alien. All of which occurred under an atmosphere that was just too lighthearted compared to the rest of the movie. The existential threat from breaking that first television was just never made real on screen. And that crime boss was not dangerous at all. I saw that a lot of people complained about how this movie was too long. And in a way, I do agree, because the teenagers for me did not justify their time on screen. Don't get me wrong. I like their arc as an isolated sequence of events. I appreciated the comedic relief that they brought to the film, but I don't think there was any need to compromise the severity of their situation in exchange for comedy. So as much as this movie wanted to play with the idea of duality, I think it missed out on duality in a big way here. Furthermore, I did like the fact that an alien was in this movie. I thought that the alien was a really important element in elevating this movie above generic genres. But again, within the context of this movie, there needed to be more fear coming out of the alien scenes or the crime boss scenes so that it didn't undermine the tone for the rest of the movie. With that said, hate it or love it, I think this movie is a truly unique experience that everybody should give a shot. And that's my review of Super Deluxe. Please do let me know what you thought of this movie. And if you can, try to include 1 or 2 reasons why you have the opinion that you do. I think as a viewer, this movie really deserves at least that much from us. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to, and I hope to see you for the next review.